if you do dumb things, there are consequences for it. I mean, that is something that she said too often to my sister, not me. She said too often, and I think she just wanted to make sure that both of her girls were on the right path. And now, as a criminal defense attorney and having to deal with kids who are struggling, aren't doing well in our community, what I can see is that their parents are missing that foundation for them, and they're not learning the boundaries that they're supposed to learn. And I'm hoping at the opportunity, if I have the opportunity to be a judge here in Racine County, that I can share that information now at the position of representing these young kids, but now having the opportunity to talk to them and say there is a better way, and that this is only gonna get more difficult if you don't start taking your life more seriously. I'm assuming at some point, if you haven't already, you're gonna Google me. I have some very interesting cases out there, and I just wanna have more of a conversation today, but if anyone has questions going forward, I'm probably too easy to be found, and obviously you can reach out to Noah as well. So that was just a little bit of my introduction, but I'm hoping that I can get questions from the audience, and I don't know if I should sit or stand at this point. Does anyone have any questions for me?
No questions were submitted to me. Doesn't look like there's any questions, so. Oh, Tamara.
Yeah, how many years have you been practicing?
I've been practicing in Wisconsin since 2011. I graduated law school in 2007. Anything else? Okay, well, I do appreciate the opportunity to come out. I didn't want to eat everyone's time because I know that there's a group after me that sounds way more heated than mine. But thank you again. I hope you enjoy St. Patrick's Parade, and Super Meet today. Have a great day.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Waterford. Tammy, we're just gonna start with you. If you guys can just introduce yourselves and give a little bit of a background, a couple minutes, and why you're on it. So there's a microphone down on the end. John's got it. He'll pass it down. I'm gonna try to get it where everybody start, or I get everybody to start so you don't get the advantage, but with as many of you as there are, it's a little tough. So go ahead.
Good morning, I'm Tamara Polno. My friends call me Tammy. I bought a home here in '97, partially because I had fond memories of spending Easters here. My Aunt Linda worked at the schools as a lunch lady. I've raised 2 children here, all through the public schooling system. I worked in the insurance industry for about 30 years with a focus on subrogation and recovery for Anthem Blue Cross. I started volunteering back in 2005 at Evergreen, when my children were attending there. And then I started working at Village Hall as an election inspector. I got the fun activity of going through the crosser recount. One of the village trustees had tapped me and said, I think you should run for office because I think we need the young voice of the moms, and I need to step down because I bought a new company. So I ran and I lost the first time by 42 votes, and then I was appointed to some committees, which I served over the next year, and then I ran again, and I've been chair of personnel. I'm also on the Board of Appeals, the Library Board, the Board of Health, and the Tourism Commission. So I'm very committed to serving. I love this community, and we can't help everyone, but everyone can help someone.
Hi, good morning. Troy McReynolds. I have been on the board since 2017. I own a business in Waterford, several rental properties. Waterford is a very, very good community to not only be a business owner, but also be a resident. We've got a lot of good things going on right now in Waterford. Also a lot of trying things going on in Waterford right now. I'm very proud to have served on the board with our current board members. I think we've got a lot of things accomplished. We've got a lot of good things coming in the near future, and we've got a lot of things that we've got to reach out to neighboring communities to work with them and get some things accomplished and back on the roadmap. But again, enjoy serving on the village board. I also was just appointed to District 18 supervisor on the Racine County Board. And I'm very, very proud to be involved not only in the village, but now in a county role also to help get things done out west of the interstate in Waterford. So, thank you.
Good morning, David Berger. I worked in Waterford for 7 years. I was a police officer. I live here just across the street from Village Hall, 300 Racine Street. I have 4 small children and 2 bonus teenagers at the moment. Currently the chief of police for the Town of Wrangell Police Department. Through that role, I've had to rebuild a police department basically from the ground up. I know that public safety is a large concern both here and in the town. I know that we're looking for options to remedy those issues. I also saw the policing poll that was just done, and it appeared that residents wanted their own police department and they want to keep things local. In my free time, I've been flying airplanes to get my pilot's license. And yeah, I love this community. I've worked out here and I live out here. We have great schools and just plan to keep that going.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Joshua Keene. I was born and raised in Burlington. I moved to Waterford in about 2000, when I was about 18, 19 years old. I was on town of Burlington Fire, and then saw an opportunity to move over to Waterford to join Waterford Fire and Rescue at the time. And that was when I sort of started my exploring options here in Waterford, and found it to be a very similar community to Burlington. Obviously, we were rivals in football and such, and so on and so forth. And we had a bunch of shenanigans then as well. But I've been committed to civic engagement as a youth. I was awarded the Chocolate City Youth Award as a freshman in high school for helping create the Chocolate City grounds. I was very active with the mayor of the city of Burlington. I've been appointed the county co-chair for several political campaigns for Racine County GOP. I've run several political campaigns. After my early 20s and going through a divorce, I was blessed with my 2 older children. I have 4 kids. The oldest is 24. The youngest is, or the second oldest is 21. And then I have a 9-year-old, and as I just stated before, a 4-year-old. We moved to West Dallas in about 2012 to be closer to work. I worked for KEI and a couple of other large landscape companies, managing between $6 and $12 million budgets. And as an operations director, still remain civically involved in the city of West Dallas, working with the city attorney, Carol Ducker, and Mayor Dan Devine, a number of aldermen, just a community approach to open governance. That is one of my main focal points. If you've read on Facebook, I can be vocal, I am vocal. I believe in strong open governance. The reason that I decided to run is because of that. I saw a lot of things that my mom, living in Waterford since 2003, wasn't aware was happening. I think there's a mix where a lot of the book is not understanding things. But to myself, my wife and I are, my wife is a business owner here in Waterford, a small business owner. She owns a communications firm. I can say that we have a 501c4. I'm an advocate, victim advocate for victims of substantial battery and crimes in throughout counties. I don't charge for those services. I also advocate for a parental advocate for school districts when parents run into challenges with school districts and school administration not understanding disability rights that are afforded to them. I again don't charge for those services. I graduated with a degree in politics and law from Wisconsin Lutheran. I currently am pursuing a law degree, and that is in process. So I have a lot of educational foundation in how government works. I just sent in the information to try and explore Waterford Board. So I definitely want to get involved in things moving forward. And that's kind of a little bit about me. But Pat?
Great, thanks. Thank you. Pat Goldinger here. I've lived in the village with my wife 25 years. Raised 4 kids here. They're all through Waterford School District. They're all doing well. We got a great school district, and like no one said, we got to support it. As far as a business, I was an airline pilot for Midwest Airlines until they went out of business. I had 4 young kids, made the decision. I didn't want to commute from the coast, so I stayed, started a business called Any Lab Test Now, which we do direct marketing, direct to the consumer medical testing. So we do blood testing, maternity, and drug testing. Besides this, I'm also on the board at the Western Racine County Sewage District. I serve as a vice president on that board, and just to make sure it's not the town of Waterford Sewage District, it's Western Racine County Sewage District. And that's what we do is we provide services to the Village of Waterford, Village of Rochester, and the town of Waterford. And I'm proud to say that we're providing the least expensive services, sanitary services in the state. We just completed a $15 million expansion, and there'll be no new taxes to the community. So you're getting a good deal out there. Besides that, I'm also on the Wisconsin DNR CDEC board, where I volunteer, where we kind of analyze how many door tags we should give out in the Racine County area. So I've been on the board for 6 years right now. And another couple interesting things, and I found out interestingly with new genealogy as I got here, the original gold hammer came over from Germany. Started St. John's Lutheran Church in Burlington, and he did the first Lutheran service in the village of Waterford in the 1850s. And on my other side, I also have in St. Thomas, the longest serving pastor priest there is Father Piron, who's my great uncle. So I love being in Waterford, and I appreciate your support.
Good morning, everybody. My name is John Todrick. I am a Village of Waterford resident for the past 26 years. I'm married, 3 kids, 33, 26, and 21. All went through the school district here, which we all agree upon is very good. My kids went through St. Thomas, and then they went through Waterford Union. As far as community support here, I'm still involved at St. Thomas for over 20 years for our wild game feed committee. That name has changed because the school obviously closed. It used to be the Athletic Association, where I served as treasurer and president. But I've been involved with that wild game feed for over 20 years. I'm still on the festival committee for St. Thomas. I've been on that committee for over 20 years. As far as my professional background, I've been in banking for over 30 years. My most current job, I spent 21 years of that 30 years with Wells Fargo. I'm sure everybody reads the news and they eliminate lines of business pretty quickly. So my first time I actually took a different job at the bank, second time took my severance pay. So I recently went into community banking, which is my first stint in community banking. I currently am working in Mount Pleasant for Community State Bank as a market president, where I'm responsible for a portfolio of about $6 million in deposits and about $45 million in loans. Other things that I do in the community as far as Racine goes, I am an ambassador for RCDC Biz Starts program, where I'm a mentor for young entrepreneurs coming into the market. I also am a Racine Rotarian, which gives me volunteer opportunities to do things like ringing the bell for the Salvation Market and delivering baskets to the needy around the holidays. I'm also recently just getting involved with Racine County Grants Committee, where I'll be approving grants for businesses in Racine County. And then the last thing is I'm an ambassador for RAMAC, which is like Racine's chamber. So what I get to do is go to ribbon cuttings and introduce myself to businesses in Racine County and share with them what programs are available for them. So that's what I do. Thanks, everybody.
All right, John, we're gonna start with you on this one. I've got a stack of cards here with questions. I tried to put them kind of in order that somewhat makes sense, but we'll start with you, John. What is your opinion of live streaming video of board meetings and archiving them?
Live streaming. Oh, I guess I don't have an issue with it. I mean, unless it's a closed door meeting, if it's live streaming, people want to participate via the internet, everything's on the internet these days. something should be on there. Personally, I'm not on Facebook. I'll be honest, I'm on LinkedIn because it's a professional site, and I'm on TikTok because I do my fantasy football and cooking recipes. I love to eat, as you can tell. So my opinion is, if it's appropriate, yes, it should be allowed. If not, and it's a closed door meeting where information, personal information is going on and it needs to be closed, I think that's good.
Pat?
Sounds good. Yeah, I'm definitely for that. We should have as much access to what we do as possible. In the past, we did do live streaming. We have live streaming right now, and I encourage everyone to show up at meetings. And I just tell you something, whenever anyone's reached out over the last 6 years, if council told me, unless council told me not to respond, and it was a group thing, I've responded to anyone who's ever called me or written to me in my 6 years. So we have to be open, and live streaming is a great idea, archiving, great idea.
I'm actually completely in support of video live streaming. Currently, the village audio live streams only. I'm so in support of this that I believe there was live streaming implemented several years ago. And if there isn't the ability for video live streaming, to create a sort of official record that is, not to discredit Liz, but an official record that can be called upon if something is inappropriate, that we have that official documentation that can be linked to the village board minutes as an official video. If the village would not want to see this as an opportunity to put on the taxpayers, I would definitely be one that would advocate for making or finding donations to put that in place.
I think that live streaming meetings and other things of that sort is a good thing. I don't see an issue with it. I think that it should be properly documented, and having an archive of it just makes it more accessible to the community. So I think it's an appropriate thing that we should be doing now, if we aren't already.
Yes, live streaming of meetings absolutely is a good thing. Obviously, we all have busy lives, and if you're not able to make it to a village board meeting, having the ability to watch online is a great thing. So yes, I would definitely support that.
I believe in transparency, and I agree with the live stream as well. I want to engage as many of our community members as possible. So I would like it to be live streamed and archived.
Okay, I'm gonna start with you. I know I started with you already, but that was just the introduction. I think you guys all were prepared for that. So, many ordinances have recently been passed with no citizen knowledge, input, or discussion. Do you believe that ordinances should be presented to the citizens for feedback? I'm reading the card, I'm not behind on that.
I believe that things, are posted, and the agenda is posted before we meet. It is brought to our attention, and I know there are sometimes readings and hearings that are held, but I do believe in transparency, and if there's ways that we can improve it, then I'm all for that.
We'll just go right down the line.
Okay, so the question with the ordinances being passed without citizen input, there is an opportunity for citizen input on any ordinances or anything that gets done and passed by the village board at our meetings. And one of the most difficult things, being on the board since 2017, is a decision gets made and then people come out and complain and whatnot. But never take the opportunity to come or contact or view their opinions at a meeting. It is the board's responsibility to pass ordinances and whatnot, and we do the best that we can and make the decisions what we feel is best for the whole community as a whole. Would I like to see more input from people before some of these decisions are made? Absolutely, but it's very difficult to do that when people aren't showing up and voicing their opinions. So,
Maybe this comes back to the question we just answered about live streaming the meetings and having an archive of it. I think that everybody should have an input, especially on the local laws and ordinances of the community. We, as the elected, need to find a way to reach as many people as we can, and to do that, the live streaming will be good. Obviously, we post our minutes or the meeting notes so people know what we're gonna be talking about. We just need to find other creative ways to get the information out there so we can hear from everybody. And then obviously we want to make the best decision possible for the community and for all the people living here, especially with the ordinances and laws. Everything's to make this place better for everybody, so.
Okay, so I've been vocal on this already on social media, and so I'm gonna sort of stick to my stance. I'm not opining a legal opinion here. However, the issue that I have with the way it's done currently is an ordinance is published in a public meeting notice. The issue that I'm having is, from a citizen standpoint, is what is the context of that ordinance before it is made into an ordinance? And are we adding language to that ordinance that puts us in disalignment or outside of statutory guidance? And I'm relying on the issue that's currently in front of the Police and Fire Commission with language that was put in there, things that were done that changed the Police and Fire Commission being out of compliance with state statute. There was added legal fees and things that had to be done. The issue that I have is, yes, we are publishing ordinance XYZ, but are we stating what is the content of that ordinance and what is the language in that ordinance? And is it being made readily available before the 24-hour notice before a meeting? Are we publishing that 30 days in advance so that the public has the right to inspect that, look at it, and then come to the board and say, hey, yeah, we got questions on why is this sentence in the ordinance, and is this pertinent or not? So this is something I think we definitely need to look at as a board. If I'm elected, this will be something I will try to work with all the trustees to address further. And getting out to people, I keep hearing that citizens aren't coming to the meetings. Are citizens aware that these topics are being discussed? And if not, why are we not reaching out further to the citizens to make them aware that this is going on by any means possible? Social media, cross media, talking to residents, sending out additional notices by any means possible. I hear a lot of, we don't get public input, but is the public aware of what they need to be providing input on? Unless you belong to one of the local Waterford pages, you don't get a lot of context into what is going on with these things.
I think we've tried to do a good job of keeping everything in the open, but I know there's been some confusion over some decisions we made, and those were, call it a personnel tumble down decision, where we had to go into closed session to do something in a personnel decision which affected another decision. So I think with that, maybe a stumble, but we're trying to get as much up as we can. And my recommendation to everyone when you do this is reach out to us, call us. It has a huge impact, Fairview, when they didn't want to have the storage units there, well, that certainly swayed my vote when I voted against those storage units at Fairview, because I had 20 people reach out to me. That's a huge thing. I would recommend people volunteer for our committees, because we have citizen committees, and I know that we're going to try to expand it next time. Get on these citizen committees, because it comes from the committees and it comes up to the board level. And most of the time we listen to our citizen committees. So I would do that. Again, and go to the committee meetings. That's what we're doing. We're trying to get as open as we can.
So I would say this, I think there needs to be transparency on both sides. I think ordinance get introduced and the general public, I've had people come up to me and say the same thing, and my question to them was, well, did you read the minutes? Did you listen to the meeting? Did you go to the meeting? And the answer is always no. So maybe the process needs to be tweaked a little bit, is how do we reach out to the general citizens of Waterford and say, this is what we're looking at. This is step 1, 2, and 3. Here's our action plan. What are your thoughts? And get input. I don't think we do that now, and I don't think it's anybody's fault. I think it's just a process that needs a little tweaking, and things will get better on both sides. Because as a citizen, I'm not on the board now. I could come to meetings, and I'll be honest, I haven't gone to a lot of meetings. I go online and read the minutes, and that's where I learn all my information. I don't go on Facebook and listen to all this jibber jabber, in my opinion, because Facebook is terrible. That's my fault.
Okay, we're gonna go with Pat and John. I don't do jibber jabber on Facebook, I'm really smart, so.
I definitely agree on that.
All right, Pat, what have you done, or what will you do to bridge the relationship with the town? We have the next few questions that are gonna be about that relationship. So go ahead.
We definitely want to work with the town of Waterford. We tried to in the past. We had a fire department, so let's go back 4 years, that could have taken care of the 3 communities. And we made every effort to reach out to the village of Rochester and the town of Waterford to combine. We even put out there, okay, we're gonna have 3 communities running. Here's our setup, here's where we're at, our paramedic unit 24/7. We'll have someone from the village of Rochester, someone from the town of Waterford, someone from the village of Waterford on those committees. We're trying to do this. I'm on the police committee right now to see what's gonna happen with our policing, along with Troy. And we're taking all the input in here, and we're also thinking in the back of our mind, the town may be with us. So our decisions are to work with the town also on this. So I'm open to working for the town anytime. And we've always been open to working with the town.
I would agree. I mean, for me, this is simple. It's a no-brainer for us, right? It's a relationship that we can further our relationship with them, and we look better, they look better, and it should just be a joint committee as far as I'm concerned. It's very simple for me.
Tamara? It's coming down with it.
Oh, it's coming to me
Yes.
Many moons ago, we had Officer Shanning that worked here in the village as our police officer. And at that time, when he was retiring, we formed a police committee to discover the different avenues we could go with to have police services going forward. I was on that committee along with the former trustee Phillip, who was a retired officer. And we reached over to the town and we looked at starting the contract with them, as well as obviously with the county sheriff, and also with starting our own department. In addition to that, I had worked with the town board and their staff for DPW on ways that our DPW and their DPW could work together to buy in bulk and save the taxpayers money on salt and things like that. So I think it's very important to work closely with our neighbors because we are one Waterford.
One of the most trying things since being on the board since 2017 is the relationship with the town. I think one of the things that we need to start doing as a board and a community is not attack our neighbors personally for decisions that have been made on boards, and extend our hand out and work together. The social, what's going on social media right now is absolutely embarrassing. When I was appointed to the county board 2 weeks ago, I had several board members come up and say, what is going on out in Waterford? Can't you guys get along? And again, it's very embarrassing. We are one community. We're a great community, the town and the village together. And I know that there is a way that we can work together without personally attacking and making critical judgment on decisions that have been made on social media. Social media, in my opinion, has ruined this country. If we want to put a relationship back with the town, we need to sit down at the table and figure out how to work together. There are so many things that we can do to save each community money for the betterment of both the town and the village. And we need to find a way to get that done. And we'll see what happens after this election, but I really would like to be proud of the village and the town working together to provide service that every constituent, both the town and the village, can be proud of.
Oftentimes, it seems like the town is a little bit adversarial, but we do need to find a way to work together with them. We both want the same things. I think shared services are probably the route to go. We were using them as our contract police department. I think the next step forward from that would be to do the joint police department. I know the groundwork has kind of been laid to look at all the options as far as either contracting or starting our own department, or depending on what happens on April 1st, if there's gonna be some changes over on the town side, maybe we can mend some bridges and start working together. We just need to open up the lines of communication with each other and try to move past all the stuff that's happened as of late. Fire services are another issue. I know they have Tishian Fire Service, and then the village has its own fire department, so, but again, some areas at DPW, they, we need to just learn how to work together, and we just have to mend the bridges and move forward. That's all that we can do.
So I feel like this might have been kind of directed at me a little bit, but I wouldn't say that I've been critical. I have relationships with individuals in the town, working relationships. I have criticized some board members, but again, it goes back to the issue of open governance and following state statutes. We discussed in an earlier candidate or proposal about the school board. Where do issues go upstream, and what do we as citizens have the right to do when issues are taken? We can talk to trustees, we can talk to supervisors, we can have conversations, we can alert them, hey, there's a problem here. And when they just refuse to listen, I have met with one trustee, I have met with the village administrator several times. I've asked to meet with another trustee, I believe on 3 or 4 different occasions that I have not been acknowledged or even been offered to meet with him. I've asked since November, maybe early December. So I am out there trying to meet with people, to talk to people. I believe in forming those alliances and forming those relationships. But again, when village officials, when town officials break open meeting laws and it just completely goes rogue and doesn't allow the public any option to know what is going on, absolutely I believe that those officials need to be held accountable. And who's going to hold them accountable? If the own board can't hold them accountable, well, it's the citizenry. We contract services from the village, and there's unfortunately only certain revenue avenues that you can go when you're critiquing or making decisions. I was told by our village administrator that I tend to throw rocks, and I should be throwing pebbles and having conversations inward. That's a fault I'll admit and own to. I do tend to throw rocks. I think you can look at my education and see that I tend to get maybe a little more aggressive on some things, and I'm welcome and opening to having open and respectful dialogue with each other in doing so, but it has to be responsible and it has to be open and transparent.
Josh, we're going to start with you. You're next up. And one of the topics that was brought up, I think, by Troy in regards to social media. A lot of lip service has been given to improving the relationships between the town and the village. But if you look and see on social media diatribe, you see it's only lip service with some. How can we improve communications? That's the question. I guess go ahead and we'll.
Sure. So I personally, as many of the trustees do here currently, don't comment on social media, on things like that. If I am gifted or if I am elected to the board as a village trustee, I will refrain from any disrespectful discourse or any engaging discourse. I don't know that a discourse is just entirely disrespectful, but rein that into being a conversation where information is passed along, and I will do that for my candidate page. I see a need to inform people as to what it is that we're doing from a trustee perspective, but to do it respectfully. I see another trustee that's constantly criticizing people, cutting them down, making personal attacks against citizens and as myself as a candidate. And I think that's a real concern and a real issue. I think we need to treat each other with respect, and I agree, the temperature does need to be brought down on social media, but I think social media it is what it is. It's here, it's not going anywhere, as is the internet. My wife owns a communications firm. It's, you know, a thriving business. Churches and nonprofits, that's her area, but that's where we support, and as well as communities. So I think there's a need and a place for it, but I think it needs to be respectful and it needs to be factual.
If we want to go ahead.
Sure. I'm not on social media, and I do that for a reason. This is a small community, and with a small community, as I said, give us a call. Our number is listed in the village on the website. My cell phone number is on there. My email is there. I prefer to do that. I don't like to get in arguments over social media. It has its value, but I personally decided not to get involved in it.
So my stance with social media is there's no reason for anybody to go on any form of social media, attack any individual, any business, whatever the case may be. Now, with issues between people, businesses, communities, pick up the phone and call somebody. This texting, things are lost in translation. Texts are misinterpreted every day, okay? Pick up, whatever happened to pick up the phone and call somebody and work an issue out. Let's talk through it. Instead of putting something on social media, 20 people chime in and they're all missing the point to the original message. That's my thoughts.
Or the Tamara next.
I use social media basically to promote what's going on and let people know. I believe all of us board members have our cell phones, emails, and I invite anybody to contact me with any questions. I get quite a few of them through email and phone calls, and especially being the liaison for Board of Health. So I address those usually pretty immediately within a matter of hours. So I don't go on social media for anything negative. I don't believe in that. But I will promote you know, the referendum for the high school. I promoted that. Activities that are going down on First and Main. You know, different, the musical was one my daughter and I enjoyed last night, and I promoted that as well. But I do appreciate anybody that does reach out to me. And we've also, as a board, Troy, Pat and I have had community sessions in different neighborhoods, meeting you know, with condo associations and that. So we are trying. We've also gone into the industrial park to talk to the business owners, as well as walking down Main Street and speaking to them. So, you know, we do try and get out and about.
Social media is kind of a hot button for me right now with everything that's going on. I have never posted, responded, engaged in any discussion regarding politics. So many things can be misconstrued. I don't believe it's professional at all to engage on social media about politics. You know, we talked about building the bridge back together with the town. A lot of things that have been transpired in the last several months, I think, has done more harm, and it will make it much more difficult to put that relationship back together with the town just because of social media. So I do not like social media for getting any political message out at all.
I don't believe that social media should be used in the way that it's being used currently. It could be a great tool for some things, like Tamara said, promotion and advertising for different events around the town, but it can also be used as a weapon, as we've seen in recent times. I think that a face-to-face encounter, a phone call, an email are my preferred ways to communicate with people. I would much rather talk to you in person to be able to actually convey the message that I want to, rather than sending a text or putting it out on social media. I think it's terrible what has been put out on social media and how it's being used currently. It's almost as if it's dividing the community more, and that's not what we're trying to do. We need to build the bridge, mend the gap, and move forward, so.
David, we're gonna start with you on the next question then. The village and the town need to become one entity. What are your thoughts on that?
So the village and town becoming one entity, I think that could be something that's looked at in the future. I think the groundwork has been laid already with the different committees. There's been attempts to join services in many different aspects, fire, DPW, and police. I know that we do share some stuff between DPW. We use each other's, well, we use the Waterford Police Department for our police services, and there was a contract with the fire services for different areas based on geography and who would get there first. I think that's the step going forward, is at some point to become one, but right now we need to learn how to work together to even look towards that.
So I think that it needs to be understood that the town of Waterford is its own municipality. They have their own elected board, they have their own chairperson, they have their own tax bracket, and taxing source. They are a municipality. And I think that it needs to be realized as well that the village of Waterford is its own municipality. We have our own village, our board of trustees, our village president, we have our own administration, and so on and so forth. I think that there is an opportunity for growth with the village and the town, respectfully, respecting that town residents may not always agree with what the village wants to do. And I think that we need to take into consideration that those opinions from the town need to be respected. So the way that we grow and the way that we move forward needs to be done in a respectful, formulated. I would like to take a reference to the police committee that currently is in the village. There's a very scripted dialogue as to what's going to happen in the next 6 months. I love that. That is open governance to the max. It's showing, and I believe at the last board meeting, it was approved to bring in a consultation firm for, I believe it was just under $20,000 to help create some of that framework. I think there's a very laid out plan. The town created a police committee that was to work in joint with the village. I don't know that committee has showed up to work with the village. So I think that, I'm not trying to throw stones here, I'm just saying we need to ask, well, is there something that we're doing wrong that you guys are not engaging us? And reach out to them, because clearly something is being lost in the discourse here. As David said in regards to the police and fire services, we contract with the town for services. The town is clearly in a position with the police department where maybe we should start considering, maybe flipping the roles on that and moving that back over to the village. I have a friend that's talked about maybe taking some of those police officers and turning them into community service officers and having multiple roles as it regards to firefighters, EMS, and police officers, as police officers are very often the first ones to show up on scene. So why shouldn't they be trained EMTs or firefighters as well? I think there's an opportunity to have discussions and move with that. But again, respecting all the voices between both entities. But I need to emphasize, they are two municipalities, and we are one municipality, they are their own, and we need to be respectful of that. as conversations continue.
Yeah, that sounds great in theory, and as a Village of Waterford representative, at this time right now, it would not make financial sense for the Village of Waterford to do that. We have two different ideas of governments right now, and I'm not doing this, I'm not telling you which one's right or which one's wrong. We're more like an oak tree, right? We're planting stuff and doing stuff that we may not see in our lifetime. We've got TIF districts, which are gonna be fantastic for the community when these mature for the tax rates. We're putting a ton of money in our infrastructure right now, and we're doing this while keeping the tax rates flat. If it made financial sense, yes, but at this point right now, I don't think it makes financial sense at all for the Village of Waterford.
So the way I look at this is I am an outsider looking at the situation, admittedly not knowing everything about combining both the town and the village. I think I can learn, but I think you have to look at it from a perspective and say, tell me about this project, what would it look like? What's the village objectives, what's the town objectives? What's the strategy actually to get there? And really, what issues would we have if we combine both? I think that's the approach we need to take, and it might work, it might not work. But I think you gotta examine the facts, come to a conclusion, and then execute on those facts.
Okay.
Coming out.
What if Tamara and then Troy? Yep. Tammy.
We have always tried to work with our neighbors to expand on services. I know that the contract with the police is still up in the air right now. But we've also had our fire department cover the Waterford Blitz area. As I said before, we work together with DPW. Do I see this in the immediate future? No. But our last strategic planning was done in 2018, and that'll be coming up, so that could be something that we expand on and ask the citizens for input from both the village and the town, what their thoughts are on combination of services, so.
I definitely think that there's an opportunity, maybe in the not very near future, but in the future, to both communities taking a look and start exploring the option of potentially becoming a city. There is a lot of positives that can come out of that, but I definitely think it's discussion that needs to take place, and I think it should take place soon.
Troy, we're gonna start with you. It's your turn. What is your specific plan for policing moving forward?
That obviously is the hot topic, isn't it? Like Pat mentioned earlier, we do have in the village now a committee that is looking at all options. As Pat stated, we have hired a consultant group out of Madison to come in and take a look at what's going on in both communities. I was just asked a couple days back if I would support a Waterford Village PD on its own. And I would not. I don't think it would be fiscally responsible for the taxpayers of Waterford. And looking at survey results coming in, we do have a strong opinion, both, I should say both, but as a village for local PD. Unfortunately, right now, there is a strong argument that can be made for both rebuilding the Waterford PD and also contracting with the Sheriff's Department. The Sheriff's Department obviously has very, very deep resources, something that we probably could not duplicate on a smaller department. So I think we gotta let this process play out. We've gotta see what we're dealing with after the April 1st election, see who is all involved in making decisions, and also engaging the community and putting something forward that the community wants as a whole. But I can tell you, everyone that I'm talking to wants local policing. So I am for that. I do have a history with the Sheriff's Department. My father was a sheriff in Racine County for many years. So I have deep respect for the Sheriff's Department and what services they provide and their resources. But there is something to be said about community policing and just the feel of knowing every officer by name, seeing them in the grocery store, seeing them out for dinner. That's a good feel. And it has been said, and I do have several Racine County deputy friends, but in certain situations, the mentality from a deputy coming into a situation in Waterford is a lot different than what they're dealing with east of the interstate. And I don't think that you have that with a local police department and those officers.
So as far as my thoughts on policing for the community, I think we need to keep it local. We need to have that small town feel where everybody knows their officers. They know them by name. The officers know who's in the school. They know the parents. They know the issues that are happening in the community. So like Troy said, we kind of need to see how this plays out with our neighboring town to see what is going to go on after April 1st with their police department. Fiscally, it's more responsible to continue contracting with them and keeping it as local as possible. I also think that there could be a possibility, since half the equipment that Waterford has is also owned by the village, that there could be a startup of a police department. In the beginning, it's gonna be small scale. Maybe 1, 2, or 3 officers max with the equipment that they have. Obviously, continuing that contract is our best solution. I don't think that the Sheriff's Department contract is the way that we wanna go, just from the survey results and what people have said, that they wanna keep it local, so that would be what I would wanna do as well.
So yeah, this is definitely a hot button topic. I have done a little bit of research online in different villages. There's not quite one that fits the village of Waterford as far as the framework and demographic and size of it, as well as the budget. The closest one that I came to was the village of Shorewood, and they went through this process and looking at the city of Burlington's budget and how many officers they have, and things like that. The city of Burlington, for reference, has 14 officers, including their clerk, an investigator, things like that. Their budget is just over $3.5 million for that local police department. Looking at the village of Shorewood, when they created their local police department, it was just over $3 million. And that's just to have cold storage, to have all the investigative stuff that goes into having an investigator. I am currently a renter. I admittedly state that I am renting because there is no housing available in Waterford. My wife and I are building a house, or it hasn't broke ground yet, but we'll be building a house in the Trailside Landing subdivision. So we've been stuck in this renting pool, and will be until our house is completed, which is supposed to be scheduled early next year. That being said, I get real concerned when I'm looking at budgets and I see that we are in negative $3 million this year. Had a $3 million loss this year in our general revenue budget, and then when I see surveys that go out that say that we have a $500, I believe it was $507,000 policing budget, what the context was lacking there was that the school district refunds us $110,000. So what is our actual policing budget? And the ability for the village to afford to do that moving forward. Do I think there's opportunity to advance that slowly and clearly? I think I just stated previously, there is a plan. We're gonna look at it, we're gonna get the professionals in here that know how to do this, and to adequately look if this is something that the residents want. My opinion on this is that if residents truly want this, and this is what residents truly want, then we should send it to a binding referendum. And we should let the residents decide, hey, if this is what you want, send it to referendum, let them tell us by a voted mandate that this is absolutely what we want. I hear a lot of pick up the phone and talk to us. There's no record of that. Then it turns into a he said, she said. So let's give something that proves the village residents actually want that. And we make sure that we are being correct in the context of what's being published to the community. I was really concerned when I saw that survey, and it added in the school resource dollars, which is a line item in our budget, but it didn't share that we also get $107,112 back from the school district for the SRO.
I'm a volunteer on the Police Exploratory Committee along with Troy, and we've had a lot of public meetings. We'd like to see you guys there. On our first meeting, we met with the judge, the local municipalities, at least Village Water municipality heads, and a simple question is, who do you want to work with? And to a person, it was the local police department. Our next meeting we had was with all 3 of the school districts. We had the grade at the middle and the high school. Same thing, everyone there. There wasn't a single person that said they didn't want local policing. We've been very active on this. We've sent out a survey. Survey results are back now. Guess what? Roughly two-thirds of the Village of Waterford residents want a local police department. This isn't done yet, because we do have a consultant. We have to also talk about finances. But I gotta tell you, the hybrid sheriff local police department model that we were in with the town of Waterford, I thought was wonderful. So we're hopeful that we can work with the town of Waterford on this issue and have a joint police department. And with that joint police department, hopefully we could have some of the human resources in this this time around. We definitely want to have a say in how it's run. But as of right now, we haven't made a decision 100%, but I can tell you the vast majority of local residents here want local police, and we will listen to our electorate.
So I agree with Pat here. I mean, everybody that I've talked to wants local policing. So it comes to the issue of, as trustee, as village elected public officials, right, you're pushing for what the people want. Doesn't make fiscally responsibly sense. Well, we're gonna find out because we hired a consult out of Madison. We'll see what that looks like. But from what I'm hearing from everybody that I talk to, they all want local police. I've grown up in the community, we've always had local police. It's kind of cool, by name, you see them drinking coffee in Marty's, at Spanky's having pizza. It's kind of a nice little touch to walk in. It's almost like Mayberry, right? It's kind of neat when you walk in and you see those people, you need help, they're there, and you know by name. It's a good community touch. So I would support the local police department.
I believe it's important to listen to our residents, and overwhelmingly what we receive from the survey results and in my conversations, they like the hybrid model we have now. They like that first and second shift is covered locally, and third shift, we're bringing in the sheriff. It works for people. They get to know both the sheriff as well as the local officers are knowing their family names and able to see if there's say a child that is autistic, they are aware of that because they're here all the time and they know the whole family. I think it's great what the exploratory committee has done in hiring the consultants, and I look forward to seeing what feedback that they provide to us. But I'm optimistic that, we will be able to match what the residents are asking us to do, and that is keep local police and hopefully continue the hybrid with the county being on third shift, because I respect all of our first responders.
Tammy, we're gonna start with you now. If the village decides to form its own police department and there's a cost increase to fund the department, should this be presented as a referendum decision to the voters?
Absolutely, yes, I agree.
Yes.
Yes, I agree that you should run a referendum if there's a cost increase.
I think I already answered this, but yes.
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 Real hard. All right, John, we're gonna go to you. I guess real quick on that referendum, there are statutes that outline what referendums can be held and can't be held. So of course, this is just an opinion. That's, do you believe that the village administrator should have any control in disciplinary action or hiring and termination of the fire department personnel?
I'm kind of in between on this one. I think it should be a board decision, not an administrator decision. I think the board should talk about it. What I would say, my opinion is, I think it should come through the board. I believe the administrator is actually employed by the board or works for the board, is what I'm trying to say. So I think it's on the board to make those types of decisions.
Yeah, I'll agree with that. I think that should be a board decision right now. And right now, it's been kind of wonderful. What people don't know about our fire department and the other fire departments in the village of Rochester and the town of Waterford, we almost have it's automatic response for these fire services. And makes me very happy to see how much cooperation we're having with our local communities, but definitely that should not lie with Zeke.
Again, not opining on opinion here, however, that I do not agree that it should go in front of the village administrator. In fact, chapter 28 was written so that the police and fire commission could be established. However, the police and fire commission cannot take any disciplinary action without reporting to the village administrator first. That creates a clear conflict. The village administrator is I believe, almost a paramedic and works for the EMS department. So what happens if the village administrator was subject to disciplinary action? And then he has to report to himself?
I believe that this should be placed before the Police and Fire Commission. They should hear any matters of discipline and make a decision on that, and then it should be brought to the board with their recommendation on how they want that discipline carried out.
I believe it would be a village board, or it should be a village board decision.
Well, I have quite a bit of experience in this because I am chair of personnel, so I deal with all the personnel issues. I consult our personnel attorney as well as our village attorney. And then if it's necessary, it does go in front of the fire commission, and then it is brought back to the board. So that is how things are working now.
All right, we're gonna start with Pat. I think we kind of went backwards on that one, so. Do you believe that there should be an ethics committee to oversee village decisions? How should the committee be structured, as in constituents versus elected officials?
I think an ethics committee is excellent. As you can see, the village right now, we haven't had any ethic problems, we haven't had any fines, we haven't had any levies against us right now, but you never know what's gonna happen at the end. So I'm all for an ethics committee, and also there should be no elected officials on it. It should be a citizen group.
And then we'll go to John.
I would agree 100%. I think an ethics committee is a fantastic idea. I also agree strongly that there shouldn't be any elected official. It should be people from the community on that ethics committee.
Now, Tara.
I also agree that we should have an ethics committee that is of the taxpayers and not board members. I encourage everyone to be involved and intend to speak with the new president about maybe restructuring some of our other committees. I hear from a lot of people that unless you're retired or self-employed, it's really hard because some of these meetings are during business hours and I don't even get back to Waterford till 6 o'clock. So I think there are ways that we can improve things. And yes, I do agree with an ethics committee, and I encourage everybody to get involved in one way or another.
Yeah, this is a good question, and actually, at our last board meeting, we started discussion about putting ethics committee together, and I do want to echo what Tammy said about committees. I've had conversation with our future village president. Right now, we have a lot of committees that several board members do sit on, and we have talked about getting more community members involved in those committees, finance committee, whatever it may be, to get more community involvement. So I think we're definitely headed in the right direction.
Yeah, not to sound like an echo chamber up here, but I think an ethics committee is something that we should have established. I guess the question is, how do we get people more involvement from the community to be part of these committees? But I think that ethics committee would be good to have.
Good job.
So, I am in strong support of an ethics committee. I think I've been kind of acting out here as the pen to paper person on the ethics issues involving open meeting issues, as well as things when running for candidates, what needs to be done to keep in compliance with state ethics laws and things like that. I was approached about this by our village administrator several weeks ago and was asked if I would want to serve in that capacity, and absolutely I would. I would think that that's a great position given my educational background in politics and law. And to clarify, politics is not politics like this. Politics is the policy of, in the essence of how government works. That's what my education is. And so having that background and having the ability to look at statutes and review how these ethical issues and open meeting, if there is open meeting violations, going into closed session improperly should come from a completely citizen committee. It was recommended that possibly by the village administrator that an elected official be appointed to the committee. I agree with the majority up here that an elected official should not sit on an ethics committee if there is going to be an ethical challenge coming out of committee to the board, and I think the board should then consider what the ethics committee is saying, since they are the citizens that are demanding the open governance or seeing the ethics violation, and then the board can discern between itself and have discussions on whether they agree, talk to council, and see are we in violation of these things, and if so, how do we right ourselves or right the wrong and get ourselves in compliance. So I absolutely support an ethics committee comprised of citizens only. I don't believe trustees should be sitting on that committee, since we could be guilty of what the ethics committee is alleging is a problem.
All right, guys, we got a half hour. Josh, I'm going to start with you. We got 27 minutes left. I'm going to stop at 11:30. So this is just going to be a yes or no, and I want a yes or no. I don't need to give any explanation. Would you recuse yourself from a vote concerning an issue involving a family member, business associate, or employee?
Absolutely.
Who would have happened?
Yes.
Yes.
Tammy, no.
Yes, and I have.
Yes.
Yes.
Josh, we're going to come back to you for the next question. I'm not going to name the business. A business was with a $185,000 loan at 7%, the village provided a business with a $185,000 loan at 7% interest. If you're elected, should the village continue to use tax dollars to support local businesses? Should the voters have an opportunity to have input?
So as a citizen, I did look into this, and I just want to make a clarifying statement to that. I believe $75,000 of that loan was for the property that the village bought for the business, and $110,000 was to help provide the capital. No, I don't believe that we should be, let me restate that. I believe that we should be offering opportunity in the avenue of tax incentives, so deferring taxes, lowering tax, making tax initiatives for businesses to be welcomed into the community. I don't think that village tax dollars should be providing support to move allocate, fund businesses? And if so, it should not be at a subprime interest rates, it's at 7% interest. What does that do to the village? Where are we putting our capital, our reserves funds up? And, you know, for a minimal, I wish I could get a $107,000 business loan at 7%. I mean, that's just that.
Yeah, the TIF districts, there's a lot of variables that go into these TIF districts. So the end game, at least for me, is at the end of these TIFs, did the village do good? Did the village not underwater on this? So interest or a loan to it, I don't think we should do that very often, if at all anymore. But I gotta tell you, when we look at these TIFs and we look at, you know, like giving a building for $1, well, that's just a part of it. So we're looking at making ourselves whole at the end of the 20 or 25 year period. So every deal that comes in front of us, I personally look at it, how's this gonna work out? Are we gonna be underwater, above water? And, you know, that's my decision. So everything's a little bit different, but, you know, as a general practice, we're not in the banking business.
So being in the banking business, when it comes to these TIFs, there are a lot of different variables. So, like I know we talked about rate at 7%. In a TIF district, that's not a bad rate. On a loan for $175,000 at 7%, depends on what the cost of funds are. Okay, banks make money on loans. The village shouldn't be in the interest in making business loans, though, is my opinion. So there are a lot of things that come in to these TIFs. Now, are you above water? Are you below water? I think you have to look at the whole picture. In this particular case, I'm not sure what the whole picture is like, but I do believe the village should not be in the business of making business loans.
Pass it down to Tammy, please. Everybody, okay on water? Everybody need another one?
Grab one too.
Maureen? Can we get some water for, I saw Pat was coughing. Okay, go ahead, Tammy, I'm sorry.
I echo what Pat and John said. There are a lot of variables when it comes to the TIF district. So while I don't think it should be the norm, you know, we are very good about seeking counsel and doing an individual review on the project and seeing how that's going to benefit our community.
Go ahead.
I think it shouldn't be normal practice of local government to bankroll a business, but we're in a situation right now where we've been trying to attract a lot of new businesses into the community, and I would say that I think everything that gets brought to us, I think we should take a look at on an individual basis.
David?
I don't believe that the village should be bankrolling anybody's business, even if it's a startup. I guess my main concern would be, what if they default on the loan? What are our safeguards in place for if that were to happen? How are we gonna recoup our money? If they wanna start a business, they should get a business loan through a bank and then come to the village and start from there. But we shouldn't be giving them the money to start from the ground up.
All right, David, we're gonna start with you on this one. If you're elected, do you intend to continue the purchase of real estate with taxpayer funds?
So I think that we should continue to purchase real estate with taxpayer funds. That's the way that the community's gonna grow. And they've been doing that now, and we're bringing in a lot of housing to the area. It's gonna only increase our tax base. So further down the line, we're gonna see the results of that. And hopefully it will bring in more revenue for the village.
What would Josh say?
Okay, so just want to make clarification between annexing and buying property. So should we annex property for future developments? Absolutely. I believe that is something that we should do. I believe that we should even be looking at a little bit smaller or an individual situation and changing the municipal code from 20 acres to 10 acres, making it so that people that want to be annexed in and have a 10-acre parcel or even a 15-acre parcel developed. But what we need to look at is, where are we creating, for the renters in the community, and people that are the Gen Zs and the 30-year-old income families, where are we creating housing opportunities for them that their mortgage is not $3,300 a year? I can tell you, building a new house in the Trailside subdivision, my house is $509,000, and I have a pretty decent interest rate. I'm paying $7,000. It's estimated I'm going to pay $7,300 a year in property taxes. So that's a $3,300 a month mortgage. That's insane for a family with a toddler and a 2-year-old that is just getting out of college and starting to start a first-time home. There's not a lot of homes here. So I would be completely in support of creating developments and specifically making the focus through planning commission, through staff, through outside entities, committees, and the focus of that being that we're creating responsible development, be it business or homes. I believe that we need more affordable housing in Waterford. Sorry, no.
No, that's okay, go ahead, Pat.
Yes, we're gonna need to purchase some more property. We have an industrial park that's full. And everyone always talks about taxes. And for the village to have taxes go down, we need commercial properties in here. So I'm for buying some property up for that, to make an industrial park. So I just wanna go back to taxes. Josh kind of brought up taxes to kind of open this up. In the last 6 years when I've been on the board, your village portion of your taxes has been it's been level. Inflation has been up close to 25% over that. So let that sink in. The village portion of your taxes has been level. We've had inflation rate of over 25%. We put in a $6.5 million park with no village taxes in there, with grants and DNR stuff. So I think we're doing okay, but we need to expand to get the tax rate down, not stay level.
Once again, I'd agree with Pat. Agree with Pat, you bet. There we go. I would agree with Pat. I think we need to buy real estate. Our industrial parks are full. The one thing that drives that tax revenue is big business into the area. Across the street by Spanky's and Dairy Queen, I believe the majority of those parks are pretty much at capacity. So the only way you bring that tax base down is to create more revenues. I will say, a lot of people that I've talked to don't really understand where the taxes are coming from and why you've got an increase in your tax bill. And that, a lot of it comes from those, they look at the tax bill and understand where the increase was. It's not really the village, it's other components of that tax bill. So yeah, I would agree, we need to buy more real estate to bring more businesses in and grow the tax base.
Tammy, you're next.
Is it working?
Mhm.
It's Can you hear me? No.
You can talk louder.
I am a mom.
So many people online can hear.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay. And I'm also in agreement with Pat and John on this. We have to explore opportunities. And our industrial park is something that could be expanded on. One thing I will say I'm proud of is a board is we initially, when I first started, didn't have a capital fund. And now we do. This current board that we're on now has started a capital fund for projects. So I think that's all I have.
Troy?
Yes, I'd absolutely be in favor of continuing to purchase property. If we look back when we purchased the properties that now have the new park, this board took a lot of criticism when that project started. And now that it is almost complete, the good things that we hear about it are great. you know, this winter with the ice rink and whatnot, and the activity that's down there, not only during the winter with ice skating, but also the food trucks on Monday nights and the other things that take place there, that has been an absolute great addition to the community. One of the things I wanted to respond to Josh about with the annexing, it is not the village's job to annex the property. It's the property owner that comes to the village and petitions the village for annexation. So it's not the village going out annexing properties in, it's the property owner that comes to us. So I just want to make that clarification.
All right, Troy, we're gonna start with you. We have 3 questions left, and we're right on time here. This is regarding the building on Walking Main Street and the fact that there are, I think, still condos available. What are your plans to address the financial impact of not having timely sales of the village-owned units in the mixed-use building?
Well, if I'm not mistaken, there have been 3 closings now of condos in that building, and there is another closing happening in the next 30 days with the commercial property downstairs. So yes, sales have been slow. I think that when the building was first done, the pricing of those condos were a little excessive, but that has changed, and I think they have adjusted, and I think that building will, in the next several months, be sold out.
David?
I think that it was probably priced too high to start with, kind of like what Troy said, and it's not the greatest location, at least for the price point that it's at. So markets have shifted. I'm not really worried about real estate. Eventually it will sell, and if we adjust the price with the market, it should be able to sell for what it needs to be.
So I'd encourage all of you at home to go on and do a little research on this. There was several articles, including a Journal Times article on this, where the realtor and the builder stated, at least the realtor stated, that there was a high demand for these types of condos, that there would be no problem selling these. And the price point was listed in that Journal Times article as to what they would be selling for, and it was about $330,000. So the comments about they're priced too high, I looked at the closing amounts on the condos that have closed, and they've been reduced by about $10,000 to $15,000. So saying there was a dramatic reduction made is a little, I guess, concerning. And to clarify just finally on one point, I do realize that the village can't just go take land, it is the property owner's right, but I think there needs to be an adjustment to the 20-acre limit on that.
Specifically with those condos, as I said, I look at things in a TID or a TIF. I see if they're underwater, above water. I voted no against those condominiums, so I was a sole vote against those condominiums because at the time I thought they were underwater. I am very hopeful that they sell.
I think it's about everything. I think, I don't know if it's necessarily a bad spot, but I think the structure's got some flaws in it. I mean, if you look at them online, you're walking through your bathroom, you get to your walk-in closet. So I think some of those things come into play along with the garage space. Do I think they'll sell? Yes, I think they're gonna sell. It's real estate as long as the price is right. I know the price has come down from the original price point. I'll compare, I live in Fairview Estates. Linsky's got his condos out there priced, they're way too high. That's why they've been sitting there for a year. So it's all about price and the right buyer at the right timing, but I think those are ones over by the village will sell.
All right, and Tammy?
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, I think it's all about the real estate and the economy. You know, some people are holding on to their pennies, waiting to see what's gonna happen. But I think that eventually they're gonna go. I believe that there were some boat slips also attached to them to try and entice that, and new marketing with the realtor. So I think in due time, we'll see him sell.
Tammy, we're gonna start with you on this one. What should the village do to address elevated radium levels in our drinking water?
Well, they do offer free radiation kits at the Board of Health. You can go right onto their site or reach out to me and I can put you in touch with that. If there are elevation levels, then we will have somebody from the Board of Health that can come out and inspect that and put you in touch with the right resources to have that addressed.
As Tammy stated, we can work with the Board of Health, and then also Racine County has great deep resources that we can work with.
Not to be an echo chamber here, but again, work with the Board of Health, contact Racine County.
I will agree with Troy. The county does have a number of resources available for this, as well as I believe there's some. I was reading some in regards to the DNR and other state agencies that can come in and assist with this as well. I believe that the testing needs to be done. I think that it should be not per se on the homeowner to have tested. I believe that we should be proactive as a village to incur that. If we're at all putting the public or our citizens at harm due to our infrastructure having issues or radiant levels in the houses, we need to be proactive in getting that information directly to their door rather than waiting for them to realize they have a problem with their own.
Pat?
I just encourage everyone to get a tester, because this area is, it's a problem in this area. Get a tester, put it in your basement and check it out, and then you can have a contractor come in there and take care of the problem.
Yeah, I don't think there's much left to say about it, but again, let's get a test done and then we can work with the Board of Health and we can figure out a remedy for it. So that would be my response.
John, I'm gonna start with you and then we'll just come back down this way. This is the last question. What's your main reason for wanting to be a village trustee? Like I said, this is your last pitch to the people here and people watching. So.
Well, here's what I tell you. You guys got to learn my views and opinions on certain issues and questions you asked. You know where I stand. I wouldn't consider myself a true politician. I don't think I'm smart enough to be one of those. I think you know where you stand with me on issues. You've learned about my credentials. And what I would tell you, the reason I'm running is to get involved in the community. I've had several people talk to me regarding transparency, getting a little bit older and say, hey, this would be a lot of fun to get involved in the community. You guys learned a lot about me. And like I said, I would ask for your vote, but you learn my credentials, and if you feel I'd be a fit for the trustee, I encourage you to vote for me. If not, don't vote. You're not gonna hurt my feelings.
Pat, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. Sorry about that. I've been on the board for 6 years, and I've been proud of what I've done on the board. And I'm not going to be modest on this one. We've expanded. We've 500% on our road work. We put in roughly $6 million park, and our taxes have stayed even and level. So I just want to continue doing that. Make sure that we have a good fiscal responsibility in the village, and I think I brought that to that. And also, if you look at the voting record, I'm the most independent trustee on this board. So I listen and I go through that, and always in the back of my mind, it's what the village residents want, and I think I've delivered what they wanted.
So I see a lot of, I think that the village board needs to have some diversity to it. I see a lot of discussions that happen. Obviously we don't know what happens in closed session, those discussions, so we don't know if there's a lot of discourse or, any type of, actual discussions in regards to what is being done. And when you go to board meetings, and I've attended many in the last several months, you don't see a lot of open discussion or debate on issues. I, again, am a renter. I hear a lot of comments about how that we're being surrounded by storage units and apartment buildings. Look at how many people are renters in this community. I am a person who's renting. I have issues with my landlord. I talk to my landlord. I talk to his property manager. But what I don't see is a lot of diversity. I see business owners. I see property owners. I don't see, a large subset of our citizens being represented, by the board. So I would ask, I clearly have done my research. I sit up here with, with budgets. I've looked into, how much do we finance for businesses to move. How is the board, making recommendations to approve, liquor licenses and things like that, and how those motions are being made, watching all this stuff from different perspectives. And, there's discussion that's made, but, caveating a motion to approve something by saying, I'm gonna vote for this, but first I have a conflict of this, is not proper decorum and discussion. If you have an issue with the board members, we should be able to openly discuss that, debate that, and for the public to see, so it doesn't just look like they were all sitting up here saying yes, 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 yes. And I think that some of that does happen, and Pat, I've seen that you do that, Troy, I've seen you do that, Tammy, I've seen you do that, as well. So I encourage more of that, but I think that there's a large subset of our community that isn't being represented. I think I bring a lot of experience. I've been elected to a number of church institutions, nonprofit institutions, their boards. I also have my education, which nobody can take away from me. Learned a lot in that, and I offer perspective in regards to ethics as well. Open meeting, transparency. If I have to, I'll make a donation through our nonprofit to pay for the live streaming service if that's what needs to be done. I will go on the record right now and say that I'll do that. That absolutely needs to be done so that a record, video, not an audio, a video record, so because video adds context to audio, our video record can be made of these meetings. And if you don't agree with that, again, maybe I'm not your guy, but if you think that there should be diversity in our board, then I think that you should look at me and look at the research that I've done, the statements that I've made online in regards to conflicts that have done. But clearly, I've looked into this as a number of other people.
So my reason for wanting to join the board is really, I am by no means a politician. I was just sitting back and I saw the things that were going on in the community, the things that were going on in our neighboring community, and I thought that I could be a part of something that could help bridge the gap and fix this issue that we're having. I bring quite a bit of experience from the law enforcement side. My whole education is basically in police, law enforcement, and public safety. That kind of bridges the gap into fire services as well, but I saw an opportunity that maybe we could figure out how to move forward, bend what is going on between the two communities, and continue to have the services that we have had and have come to like. That's why I want to get on the board. I want to be a part of the healing process.
Troy.
The answer to this question is quite simple. I love this community and I love giving back. And I'm very proud of what this board has accomplished.
Thank you, Troy. I am very passionate about this community as well, and I love serving. The firehouse people that are around will tell you that I often visit them, and I despise self-promotion, but I try to offer them any assistance I can, even if it's just bringing in a meal. I don't think my work is done. I want to continue working, and you guys all brought up diversity. Well, I'm the only woman on the board. So I think that brings a different perspective. But I really appreciate all of you being here, and I would really appreciate your vote on April 1st. Thank you.
All right, I want to thank all of you for coming in today, candidates, and all of you for coming in. Obviously, we have some big issues on the ballot on April 1st, and it's important that you know where everybody stands. So